Start. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vandeham Shri Gurur Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindha Dinabandha Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayine Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Janmadhyasya Tanvayaditiratas Chārthe Subhigya Swarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muyanti Yat Suraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 32nd chapter, verse number 22nd. Teachings of Lord Kapila to his mother Devhuti. And in this chapter he explained the destination of people who engage in following Vedic Dharma with material desires or without material desires. These two different destinations attained by men. And then he spoke that to Devhuti that she should simply worship the Lord. He says, Tasmat Tvam Sarvabhavena Bhajasva Parameshthanam Tadgunashraya Bhaktya Bhajaniya Padam Bhajan. That you should worship the Lord who is Bhajaniya, who is worthy of worship. And that is because he is Parameshti, who is the supreme foundation of everything. So he says that worship him, but worship with bhakti, with devotion, not for any material purpose or material gain. And what is the outcome of that? That is being described in the next verse. Because people usually they take to spiritual life so that they can get knowledge or they become renounced. So he says that this knowledge or renunciation, this will happen naturally by following bhakti. So therefore he says Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janeti Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Yad Brahma Darshanam. That if one performs devotion to Lord Vasudeva, and Vasudeva means he is all pervading. So one cannot say how can I perform devotion because he is limited to one particular place. So he says Vasudeva, he is everywhere. He is available to everyone, inside, outside. And he is Bhagavan. Means he is possessor of all opulences. Aishwarasya samagrasya viryasya yashasya jnana vairagyasya api sharnam bhagitingam. So all Vaishwarya, all Virya, yes, all this Vairagya, Jnana, all the qualities which one can think of, which are attractive to one's heart, they are all in him, unparalleled, in unparalleled degree. Nobody can have more than him or equal to him. Asmordhva. Na tat samashyabhyadikya abhidrishyate. So nobody is equal or more than him. In the Upanishads also it is stated. And this Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. Prayojita means applied to him. Bhakti Yoga. Or the Prayojan is Bhakti Yoga only. Because Bhakti is that which culminates in Bhakti only. Bhakti has no other outcome. Its ultimate result is only in Bhakti. Because there is nothing higher than this. Bhakti's outcome is prema or love, and love has no other benefit or result except love, because this is most satisfying to the heart. So he says, and yet if one says what about knowledge and vairagya, he says janeti ashu vairagyam jnanam cha Brahma darshanam. Brahma darshanam. Different last one. So when one have love, then there are two things which happen naturally. One is knowledge, the other is renunciation or detachment. If you love somebody, then that object becomes revealed to you. God hides himself from people. It says that Naham prakasa sarvasya yogamaya samavrita. That I am not available to everybody. I don't reveal myself to everyone. I remain hidden by the curtain of yogamaya. But he cannot remain hidden in front of his devotee. There is a story in Krishna's pastime that when he disappeared, and then gopis were searching, so he took the form of Vishnu, four-handed form, and then gopis were asking him, where is Krishna? But he could not hide himself when Radharani came, and these two hands went inside. So reveal, just like if you love somebody, then you don't hide anything from that person. And if you are hiding, means there is something wrong with the love. Love is open book. You may hide things from others. Someone comes to you and asks about your bank balance. You don't tell about how much wealth you have. But if your lover is there, then you can give the whole checkbook to that. So in love there is no obstruction. There is no deception, no feeling of inhibition. One is open. That's why it makes one feel very happy. When we meet with people whom we don't like, then you feel inhibited. You are not very comfortable. But if you are with people whom you love, then you are open, your heart is bubbling, you feel very satisfied, normal. So that's why when love is there, then jnana comes naturally, jnana. The Lord reveals Himself. Bhaktya mama vijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvata. Lord Sri Krishna says that only by love am I to be known as I am, not by anything else. So there are jnanis, there are yogis, there are karmis, they also talk about Krishna or Bhagavan, but they don't know Him as well as the devotees know, because He reveals Himself to His devotees openly. There is nothing which He hides from them. But to jnanis, karmis, yogis, He reveals only according to their bhav. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. As one approaches me, then I reveal myself to that extent. Just as we also do that. If somebody is friendly with us, we are also friendly. If somebody is deceptive, then we also become alert to that person. Even if externally we don't show, at least internally we know that this guy is playing a game with me, I have to be careful. So Bhagavan also behaves in the same way. If we are open-hearted, full of love, then He is open just like a child. You can do anything to Him. He becomes like an ordinary person. He forgets that He has all these powers. So He reveals the knowledge, and then vairagya, the detachment. So the detachment comes also naturally. If you are devoted to God, then obviously you don't have any interest in things which are not related to devotion, because they don't satisfy you anymore, they don't fulfill you, your heart, you don't take interest in them. Because our mind has the characteristic that it goes to the objects to which it is attached. So love means obviously attachment, and if we are attached to God, then it does not take interest in things which are not related, or which are not related to service to God. So therefore there is vairagya, renunciation, detachment is natural. It doesn't need to be practiced. So it says janayati ashu vairagyam jnanam. That immediately it happens. It does not take time. These are coming along with it. These are actually like the characteristics of bhakti. These are not something different from bhakti. This is not some impersonal jnana or theoretical knowledge. It is a quality of bhakti itself. So in 11th Canto, Sri Krishna, when he was teaching to Uddhava, he also said this. Bhakti pareshanubhava virakti anyatra chaisatrik eka kala prapadyamanasya yathasnatasya tushti pushtir yathanughasa sudapayonubhasa. So it's just like when you eat, if you are very hungry and you eat food, then three things happen. When you are hungry, your body becomes weak. You eat food, immediately you feel energy, tushti. So the sense of satisfaction, and pushti is nourishment, and kshudapayo, when your hunger is quenched, and at every bite, so as you are eating, it is happening. So in the same way, when we engage in bhakti in proper manner, then three things happen. That you perform bhakti, then paresh anubhava and virakti. You will have realization of the Supreme Lord and detachment. So then these three things, bhakti, jnana and vairagya, they go together. That's why in Padma Puran there is a story that Jnana and Vairagya are two sons of Bhakti, two children. So Bhakti Paresanubhava Virakti Annatra Chaishatrika Eka Kala Prapadyamanasya Yatha Ashnita. One who surrenders or one who approaches. Prapadyaman means he is not even approached yet, he is just approaching. Sanach. So even when, what to speak when you have reached, it is just in the process that this will happen. Just as in the case of eating also, while eating itself one feels nourished and sense of satisfaction. And of course when one has eaten the meal nicely, then one is satisfied. So same types of satisfaction also comes from bhakti automatically. So Sri, and then Jnanam Yad Brahma Darshanam. Then there is a realization of no network access.
That's realization of no network access.
Yeah.
To switch it on and off.
Yes.
If you can do it, otherwise
So Jnanam Yad Brahma Darshanam. Then this Jnana gives Brahma Darshan, means you actually see the reality face to face. Sakshatkar. So this is the effect of bhakti. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments on this. They don't write much. I'm still saying. He says, Jnanadi churapi bhakti meva kuryadityaha vasudevati. So he says that even if you are desiring success in Jnana, etc., then also you should do bhakti. Why is that? Because only bhakti will give you the proper Jnana. Even if one wants perfection in other paths of Jnana or Yoga, that will also come only through bhakti, not otherwise. So therefore he speaks this verse, Vasudeva Bhagavati. And Brahma Darshanam Brahmanubhavam. Brahma Darshan means experience of Brahma. Then he says, Yadasya chittam arthesu sameshu indriya vrittibhi na vigranati vaisamyam priyam apriyam ityutah satadaivatmana atmanam nissangaha samadarshanam he upadaya rahitam arudham padamikshate. So he says, when the mind of a person becomes equanimous in all the perceptions, sameshu indriya vrittibhi na vigranati vaisamyam priyam apriyam apiti, and it does not see any biasness or any dualities in the sense that this is good or this is bad, because now he has Brahma Darshan. Means for him everything is same, because there is no connection. So then Satadaiv Atmana Atmanam Nishangam Sandarshanam. Then one sees the self with the mind and becomes nissanga, is not attached to anything, and samdarshan. Because now he does not see the objects as something which are to be rejected or enjoyed. The duality in the material world comes because with our mind we are always making the distinction that this is what I can enjoy and this is not for my enjoyment, so it has to be rejected. And mind is always making calculations like that. So when one becomes situated like this, then one does not see things in this manner. Because in Brahman all equality. And heyopadaya rahitam arudham padam ikshate. Then one does not see things as acceptable or rejectable. And of course bhakti goes beyond that, because then you accept things for the sake of service of the Lord. But there is a stage which is referring here to Brahma Darshan, which is also liked by people, and this is where people can agree to be. When it comes to bhakti, then again disagreement. That bhakti to Krishna, bhakti to Vishnu, bhakti to Shiva, this, that. So first he is talking about a stage which is neutral stage, that everything is equal, so there is nothing to fight about. Before you go higher, you come to this state. Then there are higher levels of transcendence. This is the foundation of transcendence, where everybody can peacefully sit together. So that is the Brahma Darshan. Because there is nothing to argue about here. Everybody agrees, sarvam khalu idam Brahma. Nihe nanasti kinchana. There is no variety, everything is Brahman. Everything is manifestation of the all-pervading consciousness. So then there is no problem. So therefore he says that heyopadaya rahitam arudham padamikshate. That one does not consider that this is good, this is bad, this can be used, this has to be thrown away. So there is one state like that. That is the state of Brahma Darshan. So one comes to this state. But he will speak of something higher than that. Nanu bhakti janye jnana vairagye kena lakshanena gyatavye iti apekshayamaha. So he says that how do we know that somebody has attained this state of jnana or state of awareness which was described in the previous verse? How do we come to understand? There must be some characteristic of a person who is situated like this. Or even if we attain it, then we also must know how to recognize this state. So then he speaks these two verses. That if one has actually attained this jnana described in the previous verse, which he said jnanam yad brahma darshanam, from which you get brahma darshan. So how do you know that this person is having brahma darshan or not? From the behavior. And the basic characteristic of the behavior is that he is free from the dualities. Now he is equanimous in every state. There is nothing which can disturb. So that is called Brahma Darshan. Yadasya bhaktimatas chittam bhagavad guna anurage Tasmin eva nishchalam sat indriya vrittibhi samesu artheshu prakriteshu drishya shravya sparshyadi vastesu indriya grahyatvan sena vastuta stullesu api idam me priyam shravyadi idam apriyam shravyaditi vaisamyam na granati nindastutyadisu loshta kanchanadisu cha samabhavanam syat. So he says, when the mind of a person who has attained bhakti as described in the previous verse and who is engaged in the devotion to the Lord, then his senses, they become situated in this. They don't fluctuate or move or run around. And whether they are objects which are to be seen by the senses or heard or touched, he sees them equal as far as they are considered to be perceived by the senses. Indragrahyatvam sena vastuta tullesu. So as far as the senses are concerned, there is no difference. They are all sense objects. In that sense, he sees no biasness or distinction. Idam apriyam, idam priyam. That this I have to hear and this I should avoid. He does not bother about it. And nindastutyadishu, whether somebody is criticizing or glorifying him. If somebody is criticizing, then he does not think that I should avoid it. And if somebody is praising, then he does not feel that, oh, I should hear it. He remains balanced in both states. Neither the criticism disturbs him, nor the praise disturbs him. Both are a type of disturbance, because both will make your mind unstable from your purpose, from your goal or your meditation. When you will like and when you do not like, if you like something, then mind again becomes attached to that and wants to have the experience again. And if you don't get that experience, then again you are in trouble. And if you don't like, then you want to avoid it, and if you cannot avoid it, then you are in trouble. So he gives up this idea of liking and disliking, and then nothing disturbs him. So therefore he says, Sama loshta kanchanadisu, whether he a piece of stone or a piece of gold, and they are equal to him. That's how his mind becomes. So in other words, he becomes nissanga, means detached. Because this whole idea of this is likable and this is not likable, and this division, it comes only because of the attachment. If attachment is not there, then there is no divisions. There is nothing to be divided here.
On practical terms, you're confronted with, say, a Mother Teresa, the greatest benevolence, and then some horrendously evil person doing harm. I mean, even this person with the balanced mind, what action?
He will not take any action.
That's their karma.
He is not practical like that. In the society, he is not a practical person. Because he will not do anything. That's why I say that he remains he upadaya rahitam arudham padam ikshate, that he remains in a state where nothing is acceptable, nothing is rejected.
So this is obviously not for householders.
No. You cannot run your household with this. You will become nissanga. If somebody comes and takes away something, you will say, okay, no problem, take it. It's a different state of consciousness. Also, you cannot do it artificially. what he is describing is that when someone actually has this experience, how will he behave? That's why I said that how do you know that this person actually has Brahma Darshan? So he is not asking that you should practice like this. He is just describing the state of awareness. There are people who attain this awareness, and this is how it will manifest in their behavior. Whether you like it or you don't like it. That's how it is. So from householder point of view, this is not practical. But from their point of view, this is practical because this is what they want. This is their prayojana. Their mind is fixed on God and devotion, and they meditate on that, and they don't want to deviate from that. It says whatever is coming, going, it's all temporary. I have nothing to do with it. And my body will go away. So they remain in the internal state of consciousness, like you hear about Sukadeva Goswami. So he's going around, he's not wearing cloth, he's naked. And without any cares. He was walking and children thought he's crazy because sometimes crazy people walk like that. He had disheveled hair, he's totally naked, looking like he's not looking anywhere. So they were following him, making comments, maybe abusing him. He was not bothered. But then he came to the bank of Ganga, and all the sages were sitting there. And Parikshit Maharaj was also sitting, who was the emperor, because he was cursed to die after 7 days. So Sukadeva walked into him. When he walked in, everybody stood up, because they all could realize that he is such an elevated personality. When the children, women who were following him, they saw this, they ran away. So, my God, he is somebody. He thought he is crazy. So everybody gave him seat of honor and asked him that please answer the question of Parikshit, who has posed this interesting question. So that is their state of consciousness. And then he spoke for 7 days. Then he got up and he walked away. He was not hoping that now I'm going to get some dakshina. Nothing, because he doesn't carry anything. It is described that he will go to the house and stand at the door for a few minutes, go down, and if he gets something, fine. If they don't give him anything, then he is not upset or anything, then he walks away. And that's all. So that is the situation.
Was he able to maintain that consciousness while speaking Bhagavatam? Because there are many distinctions and topics in Bhagavatam.
What do you mean maintain?
Pardon?
What do you mean by maintain? You mean when he was discussing, then he became attached?
No.
No?
But that while he was talking, there were many different topics. Some about material attachment, about renunciation, and all of these things. So he could still do that with his equalized consciousness.
Yeah, because he's realized person. It's not that he's stupid or ignorant.
No.
That's why it says Jnana and Vairagya.
Yeah.
He has knowledge and he's renounced. He's renounced because he has knowledge. And this knowledge is not theoretical, but knowledge means experience, realization. So now where will this realization go? Once you realize, if you eat chili and you realize that it is hot, then where will this experience go? We have it.
You don't do it again.
So he was realized. So he says, Tathaiv Atmana Buddhya Atmanam Sviya Jivam Nisangatvadivir hetuvir padam vakuntham brahma swarupam va arudha prayam ikshate anubhavati. So in this state, what is his inner experience? He says that with his own intelligence, he sees his own self. Atmanam sviya jivam, his own self, and he sees that how I am actually not this body, nisangatvadi hetubhi. Because at present we cannot distinguish between ourselves and the body. To us, they look like one unit. Whether we hear it, we think it, but we seem to be just one body and ourselves. So he sees the distinction. And this seeing is within the mind, inside. Because anyway, when we see only inside. Even when we are seeing these external objects, we see them inside only. We are not seeing them outside. The process of seeing happens inside. So therefore he sees himself and he sees the body also, and he sees that these are two separate things. So that's the basis of Vairagya. When you see it like that, then naturally there is Vairagya, because you realize that your body is like a dress. You have put it on. It's like you put on this dress. Like that body is another dress for the soul. You just put it on. You see it differently. So then you become detached. It's like you remove your dress and you take another one. You are not crying for that. So they walk like that. So Ituvi Padam, and then Padam Ikshate, Arudham. So they see their destination, which could be Vakuntha or Brahma Swarup, depending on what kind of sadhaka they were to begin with. Their goal was Bhakti, then they realize Vakuntha, and they feel as if they are already there. That is the meaning of Arudham Padam Ikshate. Arudham means ascent, ascended, climbed, mounted, situated. And Padam is position, post, place. So as if they have already achieved it. So therefore Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Arudham Arudha Prayam Ikshate Anubhavati. They experience as if they are there. So that's why they remain in balanced state. Because now nothing can disturb them. Once you have attained this consciousness, then obviously there is no reason for anything to disturb. Jnanamatram param brahma paramatmeshwarah puman drishyadibhi prathak bhavair bhagavane kaiyate. So he says that there is only one Bhagavan, there is only one God, not many, although every religion has got one God at least, but ultimately there is only one. It is human beings who have made so many types of gods and divisions, but logically there can be only one God, there cannot be two gods, otherwise they will have a class who is superior, I am better God than you. So either they have to be of same level, then they will fight with each other, or one is better than the other, then he will overpower, so ultimately only one will remain. So he says Bhagavan Eka Iyate, there is only one Bhagavan, there is only one Supreme God. But he is manifest in so many ways. So he says Jnana Matram Param Brahma Paramatma Ishvara Puman. He manifests as Brahman, Paramatma, Ishvara, and Drishyadibhi Pratak Bhavi. So because of our bhav, this experience is dependent on both the subject and the object. But what is important is what is our bhav. This is very interesting point, which now science has come to realize that the subject is also important, not just the object. So what is inside us that makes things different? Everybody is perceiving the world differently because of their own mood, temperament, experience. No two persons' experience are same, or their understanding are same, or their realizations are same. They may be similar, and there may be many things in common, but everybody is different. Therefore, everybody actually lives in his or her own world. Although we deal with the same objects, exactly same things, even if we eat the same food, we will taste it differently. We will experience it differently. We can hear the same music or go to same place. Our experience, feelings, everything will be different according to what is inside us. So what is inside us that influences the perception of the reality. Now, is the reality just one thing and we perceive it differently? Or the reality is also different? This is the interesting thing. First of all, even if the object is same, we can all experience it differently. But the beauty is that the objects also change according to what we are.
The objects change according to what we are.
Yes.
What do you mean by are? We are.
What is inside your, what is your bhav?
Bhav.
Mm.
Okay.
Because you are, what is your bhav, otherwise what are you?
Mm.
Hands, legs have no meaning, they don't experience.
Object determines. What was it again? The object determines who we are.
Who we
No
are.
determines.
No.
Objects also are different according to our bhav. That's why Krishna says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tasaiva bhajamyam. I manifest, I appear, I reward, I reciprocate according to how you approach me.
Hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So that means the object which he is giving you is also depending on what you want. So he is one, but he appears in so many varieties according to the bhav of the people.
Yes.
If you don't want to see God as a person, then he is an imperson. And he will never appear to you as a person, even logically, and it will never get into your head that God can actually be a person. You will never understand it. If somebody will even give you logic, you will think that this guy is actually confused. I am right. So this is the game you have to understand. Everybody is right in some sense, but relatively. What is the reality? That we have to see, getting out of all these things which are lying inside. If you become free from that, then you will know what is actually the reality. If we are hanging on to our own concept, then the reality also appears like that to you. But the other guy has another concept, and then you keep on fighting, and you never come to any conclusion. So there are so many sects, so many religions, and everybody has got a concept. So the thing is that the reality is very vast, and it is multifaceted, and no one sees it completely. Even now when we see material objects, we never see the other side of it.
We see with
We see only what is in the front, and back may not be there, but we assume that it is there. I am seeing your face, maybe you don't have a backside. But I assume that it is there. So we don't see any object in total at a time. I may go back and then see your back, then I don't see your front. And then of course I can put two together. Like they have cameras from different angles of the same object. But at a time we do not experience anything completely. But it does not mean that you cannot experience. That is our limitation at this state. But you can experience the reality. Of course, it is not possible to have the absolute experience of the absolute reality, because that reality is unlimited, it has no limits. So it is impossible to know it in complete. Even God does not know himself fully, because it is not possible. If he knows himself fully, that means he is limited. But if he is unlimited, then how can he know it? Because the very meaning of unlimited is that it does not have limits. So although God is omniscient, yet he does not know himself fully. So the best knowledge we can get is from the revealed scriptures, because these are spoken by God himself. So when he speaks about himself, then we can know about him. So as it is said here that Jnanam ekam Jnanamatram param brahma Paramatmeshvara puman Drishyadibhi prithak bhavi Bhagavan ekaiya. That this Bhagavan ekaiyate prithak bhavi Drishyadibhi Jnanamatram param brahma Paramatma Ishvara puman. So in three ways he is experienced. You can experience him as a person. You can experience him as a localized, immanent, inside the heart. And you can realize him as impersonal, all-pervading awareness, which is very much liked by people. So these three are described. First is Jnanamatram, means just awareness, consciousness, nothing else. If you ask most people what is God, they say, oh, he is an energy. What is God? God is an energy. And if I ask where is that energy, it's everywhere. But energy is hanging in something. Energy exists always in something. And energy does not have a personality. You cannot say this is God. God signifies some identity, right? Some person. Energy is not like that. Energy does not have an identity. So you cannot even say that God is an energy. You cannot say anything about it because it has no identity. So that is called Param Brahma. Brahma means all-pervading. And next is Paramatma, Ishvara, immanent person, controller, one who is controlling the universe. People have also idea God is like an old man with big beard, sitting above the clouds.
Who doesn't like us very much.
He's pulling the threads. And then he is Bhagavan, who is beyond all this. That most people don't know anything about that part. How he is Bhagavan. He is the most interesting thing. So we'll read the explanation of this verse tomorrow because he gives a long explanation. Is there any question on this?
I have two questions. One is regarding your statement that Sukadeva was renounced because he had Gyan. And I'm asking the question in terms of a sadhak who comes to spiritual life based on Gyan, all the knowledge he learns, and believes that they are renounced. So one part of the question is that actually, can you actually attain renunciation through Gyan alone?
What do you mean by Gyan?
Transcendental knowledge, what's being taught here. Right.
Well, Gyan has two parts. One is theoretical Gyan, and one is what we call Anubhut, experienced Gyan. So when you have only theoretical Gyan, then this type of renunciation is not possible.
And what is the previous experience, and then you hear?
No, you experience what you hear.
Yes.
Like I can explain to you what a pizza is.
Yes.
And then I actually give you and you eat it. So then you experience what it is. So first is the theoretical knowledge. I may even show you a picture, but you don't see the real object. And the second is when you actually see the real object, you feel it, you taste it. And then you have experienced knowledge.
So for somebody who starts the process of spiritual life, they've already experienced things in the material realm, and then they get the knowledge, right? They see, but then they don't really understand it, right, until they get the knowledge. You know, like I can't think of an example.
When you hit your head against the wall, it hurts.
Yeah, but
That's direct experience.
yeah, but that's not something related to transcendental knowledge. And I'm thinking in terms of someone who starts the spiritual process based on Gyan, right? And they believe that they can renounce the material world and proceed on their spiritual life. And then some years later, they're faced with desires.
That's why I said that this type of renunciation which is described is not possible with this type of theoretical knowledge.
Right.
Because theoretical knowledge means you have heard it, you have not assimilated it. It has not become part of you. And then depending on your faith, you can change. If your faith is weak, then you can give up, and all this knowledge which you have heard will have no meaning for you.
Right.
So therefore in the beginning not only just knowledge, what is more important than that is faith.
Okay,
That's
so
why faith has its role to play.
right.
Because if you hear and you got knowledge and you have no faith in it, then it is not going to give you renunciation. Because you don't even believe in it. And faith means that you believe in something although you have not experienced it. And on the basis of that faith you take to the process which will lead you to the experience. So then later on you don't have faith anymore, now it is your experience. And that's what is necessary to be actually renounced like this.
So someone who's come from material life, and let's say they've experienced the problems of sex desire and material life, and they hear transcendental knowledge, you know, because this is what Kapila Dev is speaking about. He's giving us knowledge in order for us to be able to renounce the material realm, right?
Yeah.
Right? So, and then they get this knowledge, and then they need to further experience the transcendental side.
Yeah, because just as you have experienced the material enjoyment, you did not have just theoretical knowledge of sex life. You actually experienced it, right? So in the same way, as in the material experience you have the theory, you can read about sex life or anything, and then have the experience. So because there you have had experience, so now to get rid of that you also have to have experience here.
Yes.
Theoretical knowledge is only theoretical knowledge. Because there you have had experience, and here you are only talking about theory.
Yes.
So here also you have to have experience. And this experience will override that experience.
And the transcendental experience will give you faith in the Gyan.
Right. Not faith. There is no need faith. You have this.
Yes.
Faith means...
But it'll keep building it up,
Yeah,
making
of
it
course.
stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
That's why you come to Nishtha then.
Yeah.
So Nishtha means that you have already had some realization. You begin with faith, and then anartha nivritti means your doubts are removed. Then you become Nishtha, means you have some experiences there, otherwise how you move from faith to Nishtha, to stability, to fixity.
Right.
That's why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vishya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasvarjam. That if you don't feed your senses, then the sense objects stay away from you. Vishya vinivartante niraharasya dehina. Nirahar means starving. I'm not supplying sense objects. Rasvarjam. But the rasa, the taste for the sense object is inside you.
Yes.
And because of that taste, you will have desires. But it says, Rasvarjam, Rasopiyasya param drishtva nivartate. It says, but this taste will also go away when you will have supreme experience, transcendental experience, param drishtva. So there are two things here. One is that you are physically not allowing your senses to enjoy. But you have the desire for enjoyment, you have the experience, the taste is inside. And the next second stage is when you have actually realized transcendence, or you have got higher taste, then this taste which you have had in material things will not bother you anymore, because you have no interest in it. That's how the real renunciation comes. This is what he was saying. So bhakti, if it is performed properly, then it gives you experience. That is the characteristic of bhakti. And as I quoted the verse from statement of Lord Krishna to Uddhava, that it's just like eating. Because bhakti is something internal. When you eat, then you feel satisfied and nourished. So bhakti is also like that. It's like a spiritual food. You will feel satisfied and nourished at every step. And if that is not happening, then something is missing. Just as if I am eating and I go on eating, but my stomach is not getting filled.
Yes.
So there must be something. Then I must be eating this, this बढ़िया के बाल They sell in India, in the villages, here also sometimes, carrying them in a box, this like cotton swabs colored, and they're sweet and tasty. You take it, you put it in the mouth, you don't know where it went.
It's kind of fluorescent colored, right?
Yeah, just like a fluffy thing made from sugar,
We call it cotton
but
candy.
it's like one drop expanded into
Cotton
this.
candy.
Cotton candy,
Yeah.
yes, that's what they call it.
Cotton candy.
Cotton candy, right.
Yes.
So it's really cotton candy, you put it in your mouth and then you don't know where it
It's
went.
just gone, yeah.
So you can eat a whole box and still remain hungry.
I've never tasted it. It just looked repulsive to me.
Okay, thank you.
But the objects also change depending on our bhav. And that makes sense, like on the subtle level with thoughts. What about gross things, like that clock or that harmonium?
They
Yeah,
don't
that is-
change, but you can see them differently. Depends on your bhav, then you see them what they are.
And like something like the law of gravity, or something that seems very concrete in the Prakritic world.
They can also change if your bhav is very intense. That's how yogis can do mystical things. Because their will, they actually can defy the law of gravity and they can levitate.
Mhm.
So the gravitation law is there, so why this guy is levitating? Why it's not working on him? And it's a fact they can levitate. Right? So that means the law has actually changed. So things can change.
So then the knowledge and the knowledge and the experience makes the realization. But different people can realize the same thing in different ways also, according to the desire.
Yeah.
My other question was that Sukadev Goswami, he spoke Bhagavatam, and the conclusion of Bhagavatam is prem for Krishna, right?
Yes, yes.
So that's speaking of the gopis and Krishna, very intense prem, the highest prem, right? So he spoke that from his same consciousness?
No, he's a devotee,
Okay.
so he knows. It's not just Brahman realized, still Nityam Vishnu Priya. Yes, he studied Bhagavatam, he realized it.
Mm-hmm. But he didn't become emotionally involved or affected himself?
Sometimes, yes.
Yes, because he spoke the word Radha. He couldn't speak the word Radharani directly. Okay, thank you.
Well, I have a question. So you said, or it was said in the text, that jnana and vairagya already happened during the process of bhakti, not just at the end.
It's a process,
Mm-hmm.
ongoing process.
So what, in that context, what does it mean when Krishna says in the Bhagavatam that he makes a devotee, a dukkha dukhitam, a wretched fellow?
That is for those who are people who are very attached, and he wants to bring them to this process. So he makes them give upness. It's not that he does this all the time to every devotee. It's only to some devotees whom he thinks that if they have wealth or power, then they will remain entrenched in it. So like.
So that means if somebody is is attached like this, still he has Krishna's particular or special favor on him because Krishna does this to him.
Yeah, of course. That's why I say yasya anugrunami harisya dhanam sami.
So grace and being attached don't go, simultaneously on two tracks.
When the grace comes, then the attachment is gone.
But it can be a tough operation.
Yes.
Okay. And I
can
have
testify to that. That's another topic.
and I have a question about this liking and disliking in Bhakti. Because in Tantra they have this intense practices to really go to extremes, right? In anything, drink 50 bottles of whiskey and smoke all this stuff and so on. So how does it to just become indifferent to all this? How does that function in Bhakti? We don't make any conscious effort to avoid liking and disliking, or how does it actually work in Bhakti?
In our case, what we do is that we try to relate it with God. Like we like something and we offer it to God and then we accept prasad. And then we give this sense of enjoyership, which is the root cause of problem. And if we develop this mood, then we will become detached. Of course, if something is completely forbidden, then we try to avoid it completely. But if there is something of your choice, then you can offer it and take. And then gradually, even that you will take only what is needed and not that you will become absorbed in it and lost and overeat or overdo and then suffer the consequences. So that's why I said that Bhakti is both pravritti and nivritti for sake of Krishna, not independent. Because we are not trying to develop independent attachment or independent knowledge or independent power or anything. Here the whole process is to give up this feeling of independent existence. Because we are all related to God anyway, so there is no independent existence. Our existence is dependent on His existence. We derive our existence from His existence. So we have to acknowledge it and then realize this fact. That is the process of Bhakti. And in others, you try to realize yourself as independent.
In a tantric way.
Yeah. That I am able to renounce it, I am able to do this. Like doing weightlifting, slowly developing our muscles. Now I can lift this muscle more and more and more.
Sometimes when you read, right, you're reading and then you're reading, oh, you can totally identify what it's saying, right? Like this point was, give up the feeling of separate existence. There's something already in you and you're feeling something, but you're not able to conceptualize it and verbalize it. And then you read it, and then you can totally relate to it.
Yeah,
and
so
then
that's how the realizations come. Otherwise you read it so many times or you hear it and it doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah.
So then it suddenly gets revealed to you. Oh, really, this is what it means.
Sorry.
But the Lord reveals Himself or hides Himself according to the desire of the person, or the vow of the person. So then, there is a way, there is a time in the life of a devotee where there is a conscious decision, I want to realize the God like this. Or,
Of course.
I mean, the devotee consciously fix the mind in the worshipper, what he really wants to have
Yeah, of course it is conscious.
as conscious. And then according to that, the Lord manifests.
Just one little question. This Samadarshi stage, does a devotee attain this, or?
Yeah, for devotee means seeing God in everything. That's how Uttama devotees describe Bhagavatam. Sarvbhutashu yapashet bhagavad bhavam atmani. That one who sees his bhav, which means that I am devotee of God, and he sees this bhav in everything, means everybody is a devotee of God.
That's how he perceives
So
it.
that is some darshan for him.
Mm. But it's not that he really, has that Brahman.
There's
thing.
nothing to do with that Brahma darshan.
So then why is it said in verse 23 that as soon as he also gets knowledge and experience of Brahman, if I'm reading it right?
Yeah, because here the talk was of people, He's gradually moving up. And he has described Uttama Bhakti before. But as we read earlier, that these chapters are all mixtures of Gyan Misra Bhakti, Karma Misra Bhakti. So this is all Karma Misra Bhakti basically, and that will lead you to this type of experience. So can you call these people why this internet went down?